We're going to look at ways to apply square and cube roots. To start, suppose a square has an area of 16 yards squared. So we want to figure out what is each side length. So notice we're talking about squared units. So to undo this, we're going to take the square root, which is 4, which means the square has side lengths of 4. A cube has a volume of 27 feet cubed. So what is the length of each side? So notice we're talking about cubed units. So we're going to undo that by taking the cube root of the volume 27, which is 3. So that means the side length of our cube is 3 feet. Consecutive integers are numbers that follow each other without any gaps. For example, 1 and 2 are consecutive integers, 5 and 6 are consecutive integers, 9 and 10, and so on. So if we took the square root of 13, that is 3.605 and so on. That falls there on the number line, which means that is between the consecutive numbers 3 and 4. We're going to look at also non-perfect square roots, which means that your answer includes a decimal. So we've got a chart here of our perfect square roots. If we wanted to find the square root of 30, we know that that's somewhere between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36, which means it's going to be between the consecutive numbers 5 and 6. And if we actually calculate it, it's 5.477 and so on, which is approximately 5.5. Just a reminder, you can find non-perfect squares on calculator by hitting the second button, followed by the x squared, which has your root symbol, and then type in the number that you want the square root of. To do non-perfect cube roots on a calculator, you'll start by hitting the number 3 since it's the cube root, followed by the second button, and then we're going to hit the button just above our last one, which you'll notice has the radical sign with a little x with it, and then type in the number you want to calculate the cube root of, followed by the equal sign. When rounding square and cube roots, for example, the square root of 13 we have there, and if we wanted to round that to the nearest hundredth, that means we're rounding 2 decimal places. So you'll look at those 2 digits, and then look at the next number, which in this case is a 5. 5 or higher means that we're going to round up. So the square root of 13 in this case rounds up to about 3.61. Now the cube root of 70 is 4.1212853. If we wanted to round this to the nearest hundredth or 2 decimal places, again, we look at the first 2 decimal places, look at the number directly after that, which in this case is a 1, which means this number would round to 4.12 or 4 and 12 hundredths. When calculating with square or cube roots, you're just going to plug the problem into your calculator and round to the nearest hundredth unless directed otherwise. Some examples, 4 square root of 12 really means that we're doing 4 times the square root of 12. And I would suggest probably putting that square root of 12 in parentheses just to eliminate any confusion on your calculator. We've got the same thing here, negative 8 times the cube root of 50. And then lastly, the cube root of 45 minus 2. So again, just the helpful hint of putting your roots in parentheses to eliminate any mess ups on your calculators.